to Washington and speak to Ivan Eland, Senior Fellow and Director of the Center on Peace and Liberty at the Independent Institute. Always a pleasure to have you on, Ivan. Listen to this one. October last year, John Kelly says Trump is a person that has no idea what America stands for and has no idea what America is all about. That thing about him praising Adolf Hitler is much more recent, of course. In February, John Bolton, former national security advisor, saying there'll be celebrations in the Kremlin if Trump wins the election. Bolton saying that Putin thinks that he's an easy mark. These are people who are supposed to support the Republican candidate.
Yes, many high-level national security officials have gone on record as saying they wouldn't support Trump, including the vice president, his old vice president, Mike Pence. So, I guess if the people that know you don't like your character, if they know you the best, then there's some question about Trump's character. And I think Harris is trying to hit that on the way, the last path to the election here in 12 days. And she's also going to the ellipse next week, where Trump had the rally before he sent the mob to undermine the U.S. electoral process and Constitution. And I think that she's at the same place, so she's reminding people of that as well.
Yeah, that's going to be very interesting when she goes to that very spot. Yeah, you mentioned Mike Pence. You forgot about Mark Esper and James Mattis, both former defense secretaries. John Kelly, we've talked about. Mark Milley, Joint Chiefs of Staff during Trump's presidency. John Bolton, Anthony Scaramucci. These people so close in the White House to Donald Trump who are not supporting him anymore. But what about a wider philosophical question about how Americans see politics, Ivan? Because when you say to an American that someone is socialist, the negative reaction is intense. It's almost like you're calling them a communist. But apparently, if you say someone's a fascist, people aren't too worried about it.
Well, I think both socialism is not as bad as calling them a communist. And Trump has used that term to describe Harris and the Democrats before. So I think, this term fascist has been overused by liberals against conservatives in the past, but in this case, I'm not so sure it's not an accurate description of Trump at the time. And some people, I think the United States, they're willing to say, well, he's not going to do all these things like turn the military on protesters or prosecute his enemies. But Harris is saying, well, why are you going to take the chance? Why don't you vote for me? I'm not going to do any of those things. So both sides are playing on fear. Trump plays on fear of the immigrants, and he's been very successful at hammering that point home, even though a lot of his statistics are not very good. And Harris is now doing it to his age, and also the fact that he's in mental decline, and also this idea that he's a fascist and will try to ruin our democracy.
What about this criticism from within the Democratic Party that Kamala Harris may be losing a bit of focus regarding the bigger picture because of this micro examination of a few thousand voters in swing states in particular ethnicities or demographics or gender that she's trying to woo, thinking that actually a few thousand may make the difference, so I'll go for this tactic right now?
Well, I think they're absolutely right on. They have internal polling data, which is much better than, newspaper polls like New York Times or Wall Street Journal or something. And they know they can micro-target, and they know down to the precinct which voters they have to get and which voters they have to drive to the polls. And the Democrats probably have a better turnout game, but nobody knows what's going to happen here. It's a tight race, and it's the newspaper polls are even up, but it all come down to probably three of those 7 states. If Harris can win Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin, called the blue wall states, she'll win the election. And so the candidates are camped out in the 7 states, but those 3 are even more important than the rest.
Ivan, I hope we get one more chance before November the 5th at least. Take care. Thanks so much, as always.
Thank you.